Hello, this is the Cobra bcx230c, which is a brush cutter with a 23cc Cobra engine, and this is how it arrives, all packaged like this. So what I'm going to do is just open it all up and then take it out and show you how to assemble it so you can use it around the garden. Here we are, all unpacked. So we've got the engine here and the drive shaft that I'll show you how we assemble the cutter heads on it. We've got the nylon strimming head just here. We've got the safety harness there, which I show you how to attach. That's very simple. And then we've got the brush cutting blade here, the 3-bladed one. So for cutting tougher weeds. The all important manual there, everything you need to know about using it. The handlebar, which is simple to install, little toolkit there. This is the guard that protects the cutter there, and the fuel mixing bottle. This is a 2-stroke engine, so that is a petrol and an oil mixture. So this has got the graduations on there, and the details of that will be in the manual to get the right oil petrol mixture. So first thing I'm going to do is fit the handlebar. You need one of the Allen keys out of the tool kit just here, and what we need to do is just loosen off these 4 bolts so that we can fit this then around the handlebar to give us a good firm grip. Okay, so undone the 4 bolts there, so that comes into 2. So this is really simple to fit. On the main drive shaft here, you see there is an anti-vibration rubber. This moves around. This is just to take the vibration out of the machine when you're using it. And you'll notice there is a ridge in the rubber, and then in the bottom part of the handle there is a groove, so that just goes underneath and slots into there like that. So there's only one way you can put it in, and then the handle itself just sits on top so that we align it with the holes like that, and then it's just a case of retightening those 4 bolts with the Allen key. And we need to get those really tight because we don't want this handlebar to twist around. This is going to be in a fixed position. What you can do at this stage before you do tighten it is just adjust it to the most comfortable position for you. So there is an adjustment in it, but when it's on and fixed it needs to be tight. So I'm just going to tighten those 4, which will take a minute or 2. Right, so they're all on nice and tight now, so that is rigid on the shaft like that. We need the Allen key for the next part. To fit the guard, very simple. This goes on to the end of the shaft, sort of in that position like that. So it just stops any grass or debris going backwards towards you. So it's very simple. We're going to take this cover off just here, and then we're going to take this little bolt out just there so that will line up through there, and then this will be fitted around the shaft and then tightened back up into position. So they're all loose now, so that will come apart into the 3 pieces like that. And then we've also got to take out this little bolt just here at the end. That's important, we take that out. So to fit this, first thing we're going to do is fit the base plate there, and that is going to line up with this hole, and it sits underneath. To cushion it, you'll find this piece of rubber here, so that goes around there like that, and then that holds into place, and that little bolt there goes through the hole and into the base of the shaft. At this stage we just want this finger tight because it's got to be able to move, because then we are getting the main guard here that then slides into position there, and then this goes underneath like that. So that means that those holes are all in line with that. We can now tighten that up to hold that firmly into place. And the little split washer there will stop that from vibrating out. So that's nice and tight. Okay, and then we've got the rubber in position there. We can then put that over the top, making sure that get it the right way would help, like that. So that you can see fits nice and snugly. And then it's just a case of tightening those bolts down, which will go through to that base plate, and that will hold everything securely in place. So we need to make sure it's really tight to stop it vibrating off. Okay, so they're all nice and tight on there. So what I'm going to do now is show you how we can fit the two cutting heads. We've got the blade and we've got the nylon cord. So what I'm going to do is turn this over to show you how to fit it. But one thing that I will point out is that if we look into the top of the head here, there's a hole, and that will rotate round, and it's basically so we can lock it. And once that's on and being tightened, if we twist that round, that will slot in, and it will then hold this head tight so we can tighten it from underneath. So that's what that hole is for. So we need that to undo the bolt. And what we've got here, we've got the spanner socket there, and I'm going to use the Allen key if I need to lever it. So I'm going to flip it over now onto its back. There's no fuel in it, so it's not going to come to any harm. I put the pin into the hole, so that's locked that. I can now take my socket there, get the right one on, and this is a left-hand thread, so it's the opposite way. So normally it would be clockwise to tighten it, but in this case, because it's a left-hand thread, it's clockwise to loosen it. So I'm just going to loosen that off, holding the pin there to stop the head from spinning, and then we can take that nut off, pop that there with the spanner, then we can take the pin out for a second, and then the cover comes off, and then there's a spacer, and then we've also got that on there, which we're going to leave on anyway. So that's on there. So what we're going to do is put the blade on first. The blade comes with a cover on it, so we're going to leave the cover on it just to avoid touching the sharp edges. So there's the blade, doesn't matter which way it goes on. So that is going to fit over there, and you can see there is a little ridge there that fits on there like that. So we've got that into position. I'm just holding it with my fingers. We've got the spacer on there, and that locks into position. Then we've got this cover here, and then we've got the bolt. And then remember, it's the opposite way to put that on. So I'm going to do it just finger tight to start with. So it's in an anti-clockwise direction to tighten this. And then just to make sure it's tight, I'm going to get the little bar again and just push this into the hole and just get the little socket. And then I can put the Allen key through there just to give a little bit of leverage, holding it in place with the pin, and that is really tight there. So that won't vibrate off at all. And then when we do need to use this, all we need to do is to take off the cover here like that. And we can see then we've got the blade there. So don't take that off until you're actually going to use it. So I'm going to put that back on now because we're not going to cut with it. And then I'm going to show you how we would swap that over. So it's a reverse procedure. So it's the pin locked into position, and then we're going to take that off. So we're just doing it again in a clockwise direction like that. And then I can finish it off with my fingers. So we've got the bolt, we've got the cup spacer, the small spacer, and then that can be taken off. Make sure, of course, that that pops out because we need this piece to go back on. So that then goes back onto there, slots into position. We've got our spacer that goes back on. We don't need this when we're putting on the nylon cutting head, so we need to make sure that is put somewhere safe. Keep it with the three-bladed one there. And then we've got the nylon head here, and it's again just a case of tightening that on. So I'm just going to start that by hand. Just tighten that on anti-clockwise. Line the pin up, and then we can do that by hand. There's no spanner needed, so we're just giving that a really good twist in that anti-clockwise direction until that's really tight. Take the pin out, and that is the nylon cutting head on. Pull out the tabs. This one is what we call a self-feed. So when you're using this, these are obviously not long enough at the moment. When you push that down, it will release. When you're actually using it, just bang it on the ground, it will release more. If it's too long, it doesn't matter, because you've got a blade here on the side of the guard that actually cuts them to length. So that is now ready to go. So what we'll do is turn that over. I'll show you how to fuel it up and show you the starting procedure. Before we start the engine and get it fueled up, just to show you, this is the harness that comes with it. This is designed to be worn over your shoulders. So it goes over both shoulders. It's got a clasp on there so that you can put it on almost like a coat, jacket, arms through, clasp it together. And then this fastens onto this here like that. It's just simply a case of pushing the spring in, and that's just a pad there. So you would be wearing that, and that's all fully adjustable so that it will sit nice and comfortable when you're using it like that. Now we need some fuel. This is a 2-stroke engine, so this is basically an oil and petrol mix, and the instructions that you need are in there for the ratio that you're going to mix up. I've already mixed it up for what we need here. So I've already put this in there, but if you were doing it, you would probably put your oil in here and then add your petrol to get the right ratio. So I'm just going to pour that into there. Bear in mind, you should only ever use fresh petrol. Use E10 unleaded petrol, that is absolutely fine to use, but bear in mind that petrol doesn't stay fresh for too long, so use it within 30 days, otherwise it will affect the running of the engine. To fuel it up, the filler cap is at the back here. So I'm just going to take that off and then pour in our petrol and oil 2-stroke mix there into the back. Okay, and then we make sure that the cap's put on nice and tightly. Starting procedure is very simple. Bear in mind, this engine won't have been started before, so when you're putting it together, you might have to pull it a few extra times. Of course, once it's been run and used on a regular basis, it will start very, very easily. The controls are simple here. On the handlebar, we've got the stop start. This is designed so that when you're using it, it's got a cushion handle, by the way, as well, for comfort. We can stop it by simply sliding that forward with our thumb, but that needs to be in the back position. This is the trigger throttle here. And you can lock that down for starting by just pushing the button down on the top, and as soon as we flick it, it will release. What we tend to do is when it's running, we would just rev it a few times just to warm it up initially anyway. The choke is on the top here, so we can see there that is open and that is closed. It needs to be in the closed position, pointing to that to start it. And once the engine is running with this model and you're revving it, that will automatically click to the off position. Here we've got the priming button. All we do is push that several times, and what that will do is just pump a little bit of fuel, and we can see it's filling up with fuel now. It just pumps it from the tank into the carburetor. So we've got the choke on, we've got it switched on there, we've primed it, so then it's a case of pulling the cord here. As I say, it might take a few initially because it's never been started before. Just rev it a little bit to warm the engine. And then it should tick over on its own. When you want to use it, obviously give it more revs. When you want to stop, you just push the button forward like that, and that is it. It's really simple to start and use, and of course everything that you need to operate this brush cutter is in the manual. So enjoy it and use it well around the garden.
Remember to register your Cobra online at www.cobragarden.co.uk, and always have your Cobra serviced regularly. Check the website for your nearest dealer.